For my husband's lunch today, I'm going to be starting off by adding in some pita chips and pairing that with some hummus. I of course cut up some yellow kiwi, which is both of our favorites, and I kind of have a lot of it, so you're going to be seeing it a lot. I also got these new condiment containers for the hummus and slice up some cucumbers to go along with it. For the main portion, I'm going to be doing some chicken tofu nuggets with the added vegetables and tofu. This mixture does make a good amount, and you wouldn't even know that there's tofu in it. Once I fried them all up, I pretty much store them in my freezer, and when I want to have them, I can just reheat them in the oven or air fryer. Back to the lunch, I packed in some steamed broccoli along with those chicken tofu nuggets. The nuggets taste best when paired with a dipping sauce, so for this I mixed up some ketchup and sriracha. Packing in that last item, it's ready to go, and of course I wrote a little note to tell my husband that I love him. For my husband's lunch today, I'm starting with the top portion, which I'm first going to lay in some lettuce. Then I reheated some chicken karage in my air fryer, which is something I always have on hand in my freezer. I'm also cutting up an Asian pear and putting that in as well. I'm also adding in some of our favorite Szechuan roasted peanuts and some cherry tomatoes. And for the dipping sauce, I added some Kewpie mayo. And for the main portion, I'm going to be doing udon, which I went ahead and blanched the noodles and the spinach. This one's pretty easy since I'm using this Kikkoman udon soup base. Since my husband's workplace has a Keurig, all he has to do is add in hot water. And for the toppings, I'm doing spinach, fish cake, some fried tofu, one soft-boiled egg, a handful of bean sprouts, some green onion, and then I top it off with a little bit of spice flakes, which add a little bit of heat. Now that everything's ready to go, I'm packing it all away and of course including a note to tell my husband to enjoy the nudes. For my husband's lunch today, I'm going to be starting with the top portion where I sauteed some bean sprouts and mushrooms as a little side dish. I topped it off with some sesame seeds and then packed in some Japanese mixed crackers. Of course, no lunch is complete without some Auntie Annie's gummies, and since we're adults, I packed in 2. Lastly, I added in some cherry tomatoes and sliced carrots to snack on. Moving on to the main portion, I'm going to be packing in some dumplings. On New Year's Day, I made a bunch of these, so I had a ton on hand, and if you're interested in the recipe, it's in my last video. I like to steam and saute my dumplings so that they're nice and soft and the bottoms are golden. Once they're all done, I pack them into the box along with some tofu chicken nuggets that I reheated in my air fryer. For the dipping sauce, I'm keeping it simple with a mix of soy sauce and Korean red pepper flakes. Now that it's ready to go, I'm packing it all away and of course including a note to tell my husband that I love him and happy Monday.
Let's make some lunch for my kids. Today I'm making turkey sandwiches left over from our turkey dinner. I sliced up some Hawaiian rolls and adding cranberry sauce right on top. I shredded up some turkey, warmed it up, adding that to the sandwich, and I'm also adding some stuffing. Lastly, for the sandwich, I'm adding a little bit of mayo on the other slice of the bread. I'm using some leaf food picks right on top to hold the sandwich together. Now I'm making cute little corn kebabs just with toothpicks and steamed corn. You just stick the toothpicks right on top of the corn through the kernels, and then you slice it and they come out like this. It's so cute and such a easy way for the kids to eat corn. I made a blueberry and raspberry pie. So yummy. I found these fun turkey dinner flavored candy corn so the girls can try it also. And now for the note, I'm writing, it's not where you are in life, it's who you have by your side that matters.
For my husband's lunch today, we're going to start with the top portion. First, I put in some pita chips. Ooh, that sound came out so nice. And now back to the lunch, I'm putting in the hummus in a little container, which I thought was roasted bell pepper flavor, but it's actually pretty spicy, so I'm sure he'll get a kick out of that. Lastly, I added in some roasted peanuts and then a couple slices of orange. And for the main portion, I'm going to be packing in what we had the other night, which was honey miso salmon, which is one of my all-time favorite ways to have salmon. It's super easy. I just roasted it in my air fryer. And I know it looks a little bit dark on the surface, but I promise it's not overcooked at all. And with that salmon, we had garlic rice, and then I sauteed up some mixed vegetables. And for the salmon marinade, I'll be sure to post the recipe because it's super easy and I know you guys will love it. And now that the lunch is ready to go, I'm going to pack it all up and of course include a note to tell my husband that I'm thinking of him. For my husband's lunch today, we're going to be starting with the top and adding in some edamame salad. I know a lot of you asked for the recipe, so I'll make sure to post it after this video. Continuing on, I cubed up some Asian pear to go in as well, packing in a brownie bar and also a handful of salted peanuts. And for the main portion, I'm going to be packing in some leftover marinated boneless short ribs. I prepared this meat on Tuesday, and then last night my husband and I had Korean barbecue for dinner. This cut of meat is one of our favorites whenever we do Korean barbecue, especially since the marinade is so sweet and savory. It comes out super flavorful and you don't need any dipping sauce to go with it. Of course, I packed in some fresh rice and some kimchi, and then a sprinkling of green onions. Now that it's ready to go, I'm packing everything away. And of course, I'm writing a little note to tell my husband that I'm thinking of him.
Let's make lunch for my kids. Today we're making Addie's favorite, Korean ramen. And this one's called snack ramen. I cooked it normal with the sauce packet and the noodles. And then I separated the liquid with the noodles. I added it here. Added some pork belly, boiled eggs, and steamed broccoli. Now I'm adding a cutie orange, some fruit snacks, and a green apple Laffy Taffy. I added the broth to the little container, and then she can add the noodles and meat and veggies later. Now for the note, Adeline. So Addie is short for Adeline. That's what everyone calls her. TGIF. Thank God it's Friday. Yay. Yay for the weekend. Woohoo. I can't wait to hang out with you on our days off. Love you. XOXO mama. Thank you guys so much for all the love. We really appreciate it and all your sweet comments. I hope you have a great weekend. See you later. Bye. Let's make some lunch for my boyfriend. Today I made him a quinoa salad. To make this salad, I boiled up the red quinoa for 10 minutes. I chopped up some spinach. You can substitute that with kale, red bell pepper, cucumbers, red onions, cherry tomatoes, parsley, and I also added some chickpeas. I'm sprinkling some salt and pepper on top, and for the dressing, I'm squeezing some lemon. I'm using balsamic vinegar. You can also use red wine vinegar, and I drizzled some olive oil as well. In the little container, I added some hummus, olive oil, and paprika with some pita chips on the side. In the other section, I'm adding some lettuce on the bottom and falafel. In further note, I'm writing lyrics from the song First Time by Seven Lions, Slander, and Dabin. Oh, this is what it feels like when I can't fall asleep unless you're laying next to me. The bento box stacks up all together like this, and it comes with utensils, and that's it.
For my husband's lunch today, I gave him some leftover japchae, which is some Korean noodles from the other night, a little caprese salad for the side, and also these spicy pistachios, which are super good. They're our favorite. I also cut up a simple protein bar and added that in. For his main portion of the meal, I'm going to make some egg salad sandwiches. I went ahead and cut up the hard-boiled eggs and added in some Kewpie mayo, which is the Japanese version of mayo, my favorite, and then some simple seasonings. I went ahead and laid in some lettuce so that the bread doesn't get too soggy on one side. I trimmed up the edges just so that they fit into the bento a little bit better. I also include a Korean baked sweet potato on the side. That's one of my husband's favorites. And here's Bouncer, my dog, coming in for some scraps. I went ahead and packed everything up and included a little note to remind him that I love him. For my husband's lunch today, I'm going to be doing a Chinese New Year themed lunch. And firstly, I added in some oranges to represent wealth. Then I added in some steamed pumpkin. Next, I added in a couple pieces of mochi to represent career and salary. Lastly, I added in some chestnuts since they're my husband's favorite. And for the main portion, I'm going to be adding in some dumplings, which are a classic must-haves for Chinese New Year. The dumplings represent wealth. The second must-have food items you have to have is noodles, which is one of my favorites. These represent longevity. The longer the noodle, the longer the life. And here I did some sauteed udon. Lastly, we can't forget about the fish, which represents prosperity. And for the dipping sauce, I'm doing soy sauce, red pepper flakes, and some green onion. After putting that in the box as well, I'm packing everything all away, and of course including a note to tell my husband Happy Chinese New Year. For my husband's lunch today, I'm going to be packing in some red bell pepper bruschetta. It's super good, and the recipe for that will be coming up tomorrow. Also, I packed in some lightly toasted ciabatta bread. Then I cut and peeled an Asian pear to go with as well. Since this part was pretty simple, I am going to be doing a salmon sushi bake for the main portion, which is pretty similar to that thing I've been seeing online where they do imitation crab and cream cheese and then they bake it. But for my version, I'm going to be doing rice, salmon that's been cooked with some soy sauce and some sugar. I'm going to top it off with some Kewpie mayo, some sriracha, and then some seaweed rice flakes. Then I packed in a few pieces of egg omelet, a couple cherry tomatoes, and for fun, I did some flour cutouts for the carrots. And for the salmon bake, I am giving my husband a few packets of roasted seaweed to eat along with it. And now that everything's ready to go, I'm of course packing it up and including a note to tell my husband that I love him.